statues were processed into St. Peter's Basilica, where the Pope and Curia of cardinals offered prayers in a circle around the strange objects. They were also processed on a boat into the Synod Hall, and one of the statues remains there, directly in front of the Pope's place on the dais at the Synod Hall, such that all the Synod Fathers are looking directly at the statue in front of the Pope during all the Synod proceedings.
And a furious debate has erupted over those indigenous idols that took a dive into the Tiber River this week. I have to start with Pachamama, or whatever the omnipresent indigenous idol is that has in some ways become the symbol of this entire synod. The Vatican has been needlessly evasive about its origins and what it represents. Now, some say it's a symbol of life, some say motherhood. Whatever it is not a Christian statue, as you can see. Well, on Monday, video emerged of two men entering the church of Santa Maria in Traspontina, near the Vatican. They remove the statues and then proceed to toss them into the Tiber. Now, what has been the reaction to this in Rome, Robert, to this story?
Well, if you mean inside the Vatican, they continue to try to just stonewall about it, say, oh, it wasn't all that important. It means one thing to another person, to one person, one thing to another person. Mm-hmm. And this is precisely the problem, of course. And the way I would like to put it is they didn't vet this. They really didn't.
Why did you do this?
We did it mainly because we didn't want idols to be in the Catholic Church.
Loaded today with the news that Pope Francis has called the carved wooden statues at the center of an idolatry scandal in the Vatican Pachamama statues. Moreover, he's apologized as, quote, the Bishop of Rome to those who were offended at the statues being removed from the church and thrown into the Tiber, with no apology at all to those offended by the presence of those statues in the church and the kneeling prostration, faces to the ground, before those statues in the Vatican gardens. Today, too, the head of the Vatican's communications actually denied that any such prostration took place, despite the video evidence to the contrary. Of taking the statues and dumping them into the river has been hailed as heroic by some, comparing it to the Christ's ousting of the money changers from the temple.
Shows the laity engaged enough to do something, even something radical, in the face of what they see as confusion and maybe paganism. What is the role?
The great mistake was to bring the idols into the church, not to put them out, no? Because according to the law of God himself, the first commandment, idolism is a grave sin, and not to mix them with the Christian liturgy. And this to put it out, throw it out, can be against human law, but to bring the idols into the church was a grave sin, was a crime against the divine law. So there's a deep difference. No? Mm-hmm. And therefore it's worse to bring those that have been brought into the church, not so those that took them out. Mm-hmm. No?
Then I can inform you that the statues which created so much media clamor were found in the Tiber. These statues were not damaged. Believe it or not, the Pope even suggested that the statues may be used in St. Peter's for the closing Mass of the Synod.
Plant being offered, now being placed on the altar. where the closing mass of the synod just took place just a few moments ago. We actually thought that today might be somewhat of a spectacle because reports came out of the Vatican that the Pachamama statues that were recovered might actually make an appearance during Mass today.
And this is one advice to you, to pray, to make hours of reparation for the sins of the high clergy who betray today Christ.
You know, the introduction of these statues of Pachamama into the synod on the Amazon is something that is a major scandal. We are forbidden to have idols. We are forbidden to worship other gods. And some officials tried a little dance of their own, saying, well, it's a symbol of fertility and motherhood. Knock it off. We're not stupid. We're not. This is an idol. And then, to make it even worse, if it's not bad enough, the opening entrance song for Mass at the cathedral in Lima, Peru, was a hymn to Pachamama at Holy Mass. Or do we look to Pachamama to give her sacrifices, something we may not do to the Blessed Mother? We cannot offer her sacrifices. It's forbidden. Sacrifices are offered to God and to God alone. And the one sacrifice is the body of Jesus Christ, his body and blood, his soul and divinity. That's the one sacrifice Christians have. And this other nonsense has to stop.
The God of Moses and Solomon and Elijah, the Maccabees and the apostles and the saints, burns in anger over idols. It's called God's wrath poured out. It is punishment for sin. And on the feast of Christ the King, over the tomb of St. Peter in the Basilica of the Catholic Church, regarded in a sense as its center, an abomination, a sacrilege took place. God's anger must be burning.
She is pregnant and carries Jesus, who will bring us the gospel and drive away the darkness of idolatry and the devil. A friend exorcist says that this idol is actually the figure of the Antichrist. It is a blasphemy and parody of Mary. Pachamama is pregnant, but carries the Antichrist to give birth to him in the Masonic Church, to destroy the sacraments, which is to return to idolatry and superstition. So, this Antichrist, who is to give birth to a church with an Amazonian faith, is an abomination. It is a contradiction to church doctrine, which is the dynamic into which these idolaters want to enter into now. So in a sign of repugnance to the offenses that they made to the most blessed Virgin Mary in Rome, in her church of Transpontina, we, as a protest and as a sign of reparation, burn this satanic idol of the Pachamama.
Dear brothers and sisters from the laity, I thank you very much as a bishop for your fidelity, which you have kept in these dark times. Please keep this fidelity